Hi, everyone. Welcome to Precisely Nowhere, and welcome back if you are one of my frequent listeners. I hope you are all hanging in there. And I missed you. It is currently November 7th. By the time this comes out, it will be almost a week from today. So, interesting week indeed. Interesting is a light way to put it, but on a more positive note to start, I've missed the podcast so much. I just took I want to say month and a half break off, and it was great. I missed the podcast for sure, and it was hard to step away from it, but I was doing it because I knew I needed to give myself a break, let myself go travel, and sometimes we have to prioritize ourselves as well. There's can be easy to fill every hour of every day with obligations and to-dos and tasks, even if they fill our cup up. I fall victim to that. And in a lot of ways, it's great because I'm expanding my mind, doing new things, but finding that harmony is the goal for me. Finding harmony in my own life. So I'm super happy to be back. It's given me a lot of time to reflect, and I can't wait to share all of my thoughts with you. And I have some great episodes lined up, a good amount. We'll touch on different aspects of mental health because it is so important, and especially in days like recent days. So, I got that part. It's so important any time of the year, and especially right now. So, life updates. I went on a girls' trip with one of my best friends. We went to Greece. We did Athens. It was my second time going to Athens and Greece, but still loved it and got to see the Pantheon, and we went to museums and all of these ancient ruins. So, highly recommend. I wouldn't spend too much time in Athens, but there's also the mountains and things outside of the main city to see. So, depends on what you're looking for. I will include a list of the cities that I visited in the show notes and some of the highlights in are in my story actually. So check that out there. The link to my IG is in the show notes, and I'm just directing you there because the content already exists. The content already exists. I was sharing some things while I was on my trip, and I plan to share more highlights because reminiscing about being in Greece brings me good vibes, and I am here for that. So we also went to Mykonos, and I had always wanted to go to Mykonos, so it was great to check it off my list and see what all the hype is about. It is more expensive as an island compared to some of the other Greek islands, probably comparable to Santorini, which I've also been to a couple years ago. So still worth checking out. There's lots of beach clubs you can go to and spend the whole day there. We did that one day. We went to Super Paradise and it was great. So, highly recommend. Had some great food there as well. Seafood, everything's so fresh. All of the great Greek salads and other salads, they're just doing it right there. And they don't even put a lot of dressing. Really, just a little bit of olive oil. Oh, it's so good. So, Mykonos, Paros, we also went to. That is close to Mykonos. under an hour ferry ride from Mykonos to Patros, so it was a vibe, loved it. We rented a car for a weekend and drove all around the island because it's not that large of an island, and stopped at different beaches. It was so relaxing. The sunsets there, unreal. Food as well. Lots of great shopping. Love myself some local artists, like paintings, home decor. It's a real problem, but also such a guilty pleasure of mine. It's great. So Greece was great. We ended the trip in London, and I hadn't been to London since 2012. So ages ago, like, I mean, 2012, like, well, what was going on? What was going on back then? A long time. I was with my mom, and it was so cold and raining and freezing because it was March. So it was actually not cold being there in early October. No, mid-October, actually mid-October. And we got to do lots of walking around. London's not known for their food, but they have cuisines from all over the world. So great Indian food. We had really great Italian food, and we stayed in Shoreditch, which is like the Brooklyn of London. If you think about London, compare it to New York City, how there's the city, Manhattan, and then there's Brooklyn. So still a great place, still poppin', just over the bridge. That is the comparison. I'm going to give the credit to my best friend because that's how she sold me on it. I was like, okay, okay, okay. And it was more affordable than staying like closer to some of the big landmarks. The great thing with London is there's the tube. So similar to the subway, you can very affordably get around and not have to take taxis everywhere or Ubers, which would be very expensive. And London in itself isn't the cheapest, but comparable to New York, I would say. Lots of great street markets as well. And we got really some art prints for my office. Just so many great things there. So I can't wait to go back. I want to explore it more. I fell in love with it. I think I was so traumatized by the cold last time that I was a little jaded, but I'm glad that we ended our stop there. It was nice to get a feel of city life a bit before coming back to the suburbs because I do love the suburbs at the same time. And the quiet, being able to see the mountains, just different vibes. So life has been good despite recent, circumstances. And I also have tendinitis. So that is something I'm working through. I have to go to the doctor again to get my wrist looked at, but it's mostly caused by being a workaholic and millennial, and I don't want to say it's self-induced because I do think that corporate America caused this. I mean, I know they caused this because this hustle culture. So we're figuring it out. It's not it's still in early stages is what I'm telling myself. So it has been challenging some days to work nonstop, and it requires me to take breaks. So that's really great because taking breaks during the day is normal and healthy and also recommended by my doctor. So when all else fails, it's, good to remember that we must take care of ourselves, and sometimes other people might know a little bit better and they're looking out for us. So grateful for people like that. And I know this might be a loaded statement because not all doctors. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're a good doctor. Let's be real. So there are some out there that are like, I don't know about this, but there are lots that are like really with it, and I'm here for these people that are with it and open to new ways of thinking, really taking care of their patients. I recently started therapy, and I know I talked about this a little bit before I took my break, but I am a few sessions in now, and it has been really great. I have a male therapist, actually. I was open to male or female because I decided, why not try it out? And then if I am like, nah, then I can change and go back to a female therapist. But I'd never been to therapy with a male therapist. So it's going good so far. I can in some ways see how going to a woman therapist might be slightly different. I think women just we're wired differently. We all are equals, but we're wired differently. And it's been interesting. But I feel like I am learning about myself and growing, and that is what's important, not who my therapist is. So, really happy about that. And I feel so relieved coming out of the sessions, like, so light. And it is a nice reminder that I need to take care of my mental health, and we all should take care of our mental health. So, I am going twice a month, and I can schedule a few appointments at a time, which is really nice because then I put them on my work calendar. I make sure that I make it work around my schedule so that it's easy to go to and doesn't feel like a burden. And I'm going in person right now, so it's nice to get out of the house since I work from home. All good things. And it's also hard growing. So that is something I want to acknowledge, but it's a beautiful thing. So I'm here for all of you that are with me on this journey of life and growing. And we all have our ups and downs, but we're getting through it together. And I have been thinking a lot about my goals and having time off of the podcast to travel and just have free time and do me gave me a lot of time to reflect and invest in my mental health. Not that I wasn't doing it before, but more so, and reconnect with myself and get back to that place of finding harmony. So, I wanted to share that if you're open to finding harmony or have never even thought about finding harmony and what that means, from someone who has been trying to find it for a minute now, what I'm realizing is that it's like any good habit, in my opinion, because harmony brings good things. It has to be nurtured and practiced to start to make it second nature. And I can admit that there has been times when I think that me finding harmony means waking up the next day and okay, I'm just going to choose to find harmony, but it doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes it does. There are some days like that, but there are days that's not. So, given everything that's happening in the world, and this time that I've had to reflect, I'm getting back to that goal of finding harmony, what that means for me in my life, having this creative outlet and keeping this podcast up is something that adds to my harmony and helps me get there. So I'm stoked to be back on the mic. I have missed you all. I've missed this getting the creative juices flowing and creating content that is putting good vibes out in the world and encouraging myself definitely because I'm really talking to a future me or a younger me that like what do what do you want the world to be left behind, and maybe it's the melodramatic, emo millennial in me, or the fact that I did take half a gummy, it is what it is. There is so much out there in the world, and there's what world are we leaving behind, you know? And I do think about that, especially having younger siblings and nieces and nephews. So, gotta do my part. And the election was devastating. Our worst fears came to reality. Trump was elected president again. I can't believe it. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole here, but I did want to acknowledge that that happened because I wanted to record before the election and couldn't bring myself to get on the mic, partially out of distractions and maybe a little bit of anxiety around the election and the fact that I wasn't really enjoying a break mentally because of everything going on in the outside world. So clearly, I'm not recording before the election because I genuinely had this excitement that it was going to be Kamala. And in my part, I thought to myself, like, this is the time. We all have been through it already with him. We aren't going back. I mean, there's so many people in the world that are coming together, uplifting each other. And it's not about being a Democrat or Republican. It's about human rights. It's about like having basic human rights and looking at people like they're human beings and not at everything transactional and being an individual and thinking about the greater good. And I guess that's different for everyone, but truly the greater good for humanity. So, Trump as president, it's terrible. As a Latina and a woman and a Mexican, it's sad, it's scary. Anyone that's not a straight white man or straight white woman, really, because there is so much privilege that comes with that, a man especially, because, being a woman, you still, we still are not fully equal. It's sad to say out loud and wild to be saying in 2024, almost 2025, but we will get there eventually. We are not going to back down. And I know that there's so many of us that are not afraid to use our voices. So it makes me really inspired and is keeping me hopeful. And I am focusing on helping the world find their humanity again because it seems like it's a bit lost amongst some of us. And it's so important to keep it, especially right now. I quoted Michelle Obama earlier when I was talking to my boyfriend because there's a quote that has been coming to my mind recently, especially with all of the election and these so much propaganda out there and hate and people who are uneducated or just hateful, spreading all these messages. And I don't want to get into it, but as Michelle Obama once said, when they go low, we go high. And that's a life motto that the Obamas have and live by. And it's evident in the way that they carry themselves and handle themselves, especially in light of having to firsthand deal with Trump. And that is where my mind is at. Devastated for sure, but going to always go high and not go low because there are way too many people doing that already. And it is not helping the greater good. So, wanted to share some inspiring words with you. And I promise we are turning this episode back around. I'm not trying to get you in a depressed mode. I am trying to be real though. And I could not be real and be me if I recorded and didn't acknowledge what was happening in the world right now and how I was feeling. That would not be me being authentic or transparent. Would be putting on a mask or and I don't wanna do that. We already have to do that in some of our environments. As much as I love my work environment, there's that culture of we don't wanna seem too excited or too depressed, and that's something that is ingrained in me from, I think, the corporate culture that millennials were exposed to a bit more when we were in our early careers, or myself at least, so and being Hispanic as well, kinda just put your head down, follow the rules. No. No, because I am a human being too. So, yes, follow the rules to an extent, but we have to speak up for ourselves and fight for what's right and have a voice because there are a lot of people out there that are voiceless. And a friendly reminder that we all have the right to have our own thoughts and opinions, rights to our own bodies. That's just basic norms. So let's normalize that. And it doesn't matter what you look like or what gender you are or what political party, just basic human rights. So to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, thank you for looking out for humanity. I know it's cheesy that I'm thanking them, but I am grateful that they fought the good fight for us and are going to continue to do that. Because what is it all worth if we lose our humanity at the end of the day, right? Not gonna go down that dark path, so we're gonna keep it light. I'm in desperate need of good things right now. I think we all are, whether we wanna admit it or not. Definitely want to stay in bed all day, get lost in TV, movies, the couch, detach from the world, but I can't stick my head in the sand. We can't stick our head in the sand. I'm not trying to be on a soapbox right now, but I think it's so important that we acknowledge that because there are too many people doing that already, and that's not gonna add to our mental health, in my opinion. Avoiding our feelings or getting so obsessed with ourselves or being so self-interested is not I feel like that's not really great or good. It's not sustainable. We've been doing it already and look where we're at. So, on that note, I hope you all hang in there and do what you need to do to protect your mental health. It's so important. It's so important. So, I love you all. In the words of Kamala, I wanted to share a couple quotes from her speech after she conceded so gracefully because she is a queen. And when they go low, we go high. So she had said, "While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign, the fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. This is not a time to throw up our hands," she added. "This is a time to roll up our sleeves." Very wise words. And it's something that I'm holding on to because there are hard times and I have already cried on the daily. So there are brighter days ahead and we will get there. We got to stick together though. I love you all. I am so happy to be back and I am learning how to edit these episodes. So that is a fun fact and new thing that I'm taking on. Baby steps because I do have tendonitis, so I need to not be using my wrist significantly more than I need to, but it is going to be a new skill that I have, and that's I mean, for me, that's like a superpower. I'm gonna be able to edit edit things and record them. It's like, here we go. And I discovered this new app. You can get a 1 week free trial. And then after that, I believe it's around $99 a year. So a little pricey, but that is about $8.25 a month. So honestly, I feel like you can, if you gave up 1 cup of coffee at Starbucks, you can probably save up for it. So it's called Imprint, and it is this app where you can learn all of these things. When you first sign up, it gives you some options of things to pick from, of kind of topics you want to learn about, the reason why you might be interested in the app, and then you can pick these courses, and they're all very visual focused. So there's reading, but a lot of visuals. So I'm someone who is a visual learner, and there's different ways that we our brains gravitate towards with learning. So mine gravitates towards visuals. That helps me retain the information more. And I so far there's a leaderboard. I'm not really focused on the leaderboard, but you can get a daily 2-minute read. It randomly gives you that. And it's literally a 2-minute read, and you just tap through. So you can heart things to save them in your library and save them to read for later if there are things that you might want to remember. Maybe it's a positive affirmation. So it is awesome. I have read, going to my courses. So I just did a course on the science of happiness, and that one was really cool. I learned so many things, and these daily quizzes test you on the things that you're learning. So it's a app where you read and learn, and when you're reading, there's small little quizzes in between. It's very social friendly, and all of it are different authors. It'll say where the study is sourced. So if you want to nerd out with me, check it out. I love the motivation of starting this streak, just like on Duolingo or those apps where they try to motivate you to use them daily. I think I've managed a 3-day streak so far, and then I fall off for a day or two, and then I get back on. So we're getting there, but I highly recommend. Yeah, my next course is tackling the obstacles to habit building. So it is really great. Highly recommend. And I also learned about the 3 C's of career success, the proven power of self compassion. That was one of my daily 2-minute reads. It was really cool. I learned about self compassion and how it's actually low in America, and the concept of how we are so compassionate to others and help them, bring them up, if they make a mistake or they're feeling low, but we don't always do the same thing for ourselves. And how, if we actually practiced self compassion, would increase our mental health. So, yeah, something I learned, I'm just scrolling through this, is when we fail, we seem to forget that one flaw does not and should not define a person's worth. Which we've all been there, where we make one mistake and we're bringing ourselves down, bringing someone else down. So when we criticize ourselves, we go into this fight or flight mode, which I think most of us know what fight or flight mode is, but either fighting or we're just wanting to give up and retreat. So this triggers the release of stress hormones that can damage our physical and emotional health. So that self criticism leads to us feeling in this fight or flight mode, and that releases stress. All of this can be avoided if we practice self compassion. There's always a fine line to everything, but when we do practice self compassion and embracing ourselves, our bodies release more oxytocin and endorphins, and those are hormones that increase our feelings of safety and security. So self-compassion leads to an increase of feelings of safety and security. We're being kind to ourselves. Those are good things to feel. And it's a good thing to practice. I like to think that I do give myself self-compassion, but I know that I am really hard on myself as well. So this daily 2-minute read was really great because it gave me the reminder that I needed when you don't even know that you need it. And that is officially the end of me geeking out on this app. I will definitely share some other things that I learn if you're interested in hearing me geek out. I also learned about the different attachment styles in a relationship, which there's avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, and secure attachment. So it's attachment theory, and attachment theory, believes the belief is that most people have different ways of handling intimacy, known as attachment styles. So those are the 3 attachment styles, and it was interesting. I learned about the different attachment styles, what signifies each of them, how you can have someone that's a secure attachment style with an anxious and still have just as equally of a healthy relationship than two people that have secure attachment in a relationship. And a lot of this is based in research and studies and books, so they're smaller versions of that. I am really vibing with the app, and I am going to stop ranting now. So I love you all. Welcome back. Take care of yourselves, please. And don't forget to check in on your friends and family. I've been doing some wellness checks. I called my mom, wanted to just check in on her mental health. I knew that Trump being president was not the reality that she was hoping for, and having a Mexican family, it really hits on another level than if I wasn't having to think about just also humanity, what people may have to go through, but hopefully we keep fighting the good fight, and we can only hope for the best. And thank you for listening. We hit 3,000 downloads. I am shooketh because I took a month and a half off, and subconsciously in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I really wanted to make it 100 episodes this year. I wanted to get 3,000 downloads. I'm not going to get there. And then when I let all of that go, and I was like, who fucking cares? It's really not that serious. Let's not stress about things we don't have to stress about. It happened. Not going to hit 100 episodes this year, but that's okay because we're taking time to do other things that fill our cup up and that we love. And all of these life experiences have re-inspired me, and were needed because adulting's on another level right now. So give yourself a break and consider decorating early for the holidays. We'll talk about that next episode. I love Christmas, the holidays. I know some of you listeners do not, but it's not gonna be all holiday content. So keep tuning in. I love you. Talk soon. And more life updates to come for sure. This election has got me in a mind fog. I'm not sure if you can relate. My brain feels a little scattered. It's like I'm in there 1 minute, the next I'm like, what happened? So bear with me. Lots of fun content coming your way, and I am so happy to be back.
Music and editing done by Marco. You can find him at midnight, MIDNITE_mind80 on Instagram for more of his work.